I want to talk today a little bit about drawing. Normally I draw all of my designs in Procreate. This design in particular was drawn a little bit larger than I would normally cut for a work piece. I wanted to try to do something that was going to allow me to be able to see shape and form a little bit better. That's one thing I've been focusing on in my drawings and in cutting the actual scroll, is to really begin to focus on the shading in a way that accentuates form, depth, the layers of the leaves, the highlights of the leaves. And I found that when I blew things up a little bit, when I make things a little bit bigger, it's easier to see that for me. Although most commonly, I'm not going to be cutting scroll this big for a work piece. It's very good for practice, I think, just to get an idea, just to be able to see a little bit better, to give yourself a little bit more room to see shadow, shape, form, light, and then to practice your cuts this way. You can see me moving the design around a lot with the positioning device. That's because I'm working, even though my microscope is zoomed out all the way, I'm still working at its maximum because the scroll is so big. So I'm having to recenter quite a bit more often than I would normally on a work piece when the scroll is drawn a little bit smaller. Now, I draw everything in Procreate. I do some drawing with graphite pencil on paper. I'm not sure that it makes a difference as far as skill and practice. I find Procreate very easy to take along. I usually have my iPad with me almost everywhere I go, so it's easy just to pull out your iPad and then to draw. I don't think you become a better artist by drawing with pencil. I think it's fun to draw with pencil, and I do sometimes, but the majority of my work is done in Procreate. Like I said, I wanted to do something a little bigger. The practice plate I'm working on is 2 inches by 3 inches. I wanted to give myself a little bit more room. As I'm improving and attempting to improve my engraving, one of the things that I am really wanting to focus on is to really get an idea of how the form and the shapes and of the leaves interact with each other, as far as like where they overlap or where they may meet, how the shadow can play with different shapes and create different depths and create different I would say dimensionality in the leaf or in the scroll shape. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do something a little bigger, because I think it's easier to see it. For me, it's easier to see. Even under the microscope, in this case, to have something bigger, it's easier to express that for me, so that when I do reduce it down to what would be commonly found on, a work piece that might be for a commission, I will have practice of being able to see the shape in a way that allows me to then apply it in a smaller format, in the same way that I did in the bigger format. I think every engraver, when we're trying to get better, from what I understand and the questions I've asked to engravers that I admire, we all have our own little things that we do to improve. One of the things that every engraver has told me, and I believe it's probably the best piece of advice, is to draw. To be able to see the shape and form of scrollwork, to be able to design, to be able to actually create art, to give your work an artistic feel, it's all about drawing. Now, is it essential to be able to draw to be an engraver? No, but all great engravers can draw. I went to school and I have a degree in art, photography and graphic design. I had the great fortune to learn at a school who really emphasized the classical format of learning art. So we began with, academic drawing, perspective, light, shape, form, shadow, negative space, learning how to see. So coming back to drawing, being a photographer for so many years, and then coming back to drawing scrollwork and coming back to this, it took a minute to get my feet under me as far as like having the pencil in my hand and actually drawing and practicing in that way. But now that I've been doing it for a year or so, it's a lot more comfortable to me, and I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than when I first started. And I think with every new endeavor, especially an artistic endeavor like this, that I think a lot of times beginners will shy away from practicing drawing as much because it's not as fun as cutting. I've heard great engravers say that, the cutting is the easy part, and I tend to agree. The design and actually learning how to draw a beautiful scroll is the difficult part. And it's where the majority of the artistic skill comes into play. So I've mentioned this in other videos that I've made, is that drawing is important, and it's something that I've been focusing on. I'm going to continue to focus on. And I know that I have a long way to go to improve to be where I would like to be. But I would like to reiterate to everyone that drawing is the most important aspect of most art forms. Every great sculptor can draw. Most great painters can draw. Being able to render something with pencil, procreate, being able to render form, shape, shadow, light allows you to see things in a different way. It allows you to bring an artistic eye to your work. So I highly recommend spending as much time as possible, especially in the beginning of your engraving journey, drawing. Now you'll see in this video I'm using my standard 90 degree. It's a simple practice plate, and I'm really just finding the form. I'm really focusing on doing some foldovers, a little bit of overlapping. I'm just trying to create clean cuts. Anytime I have free time and I want to do a practice plate, there has to be a purpose. Practicing without a purpose, I think, could be a detriment, because we always need some sort of goal. And in this practice plate, my goal is to be clean, to make clean, precise cuts as efficiently as possible, and to be accurate. Engraving is a complete enjoyment for me. It's an escape. It's a creative outlet. And I enjoy the challenge that it presents, trying to be accurate, trying to be precise. And I find that, like I said, the drawing allows the engraver even more time to be able to see beyond just the cut. It gives them the opportunity to practice the artistic form, the artistic qualities of hand engraving. So let me know what you think in the comments. How much you draw, how much you focus on drawing, how important you think drawing is, and if you like it, if you're comfortable with drawing. I think for the rest of my engraving career, it will be one of the main aspects that I'd like to focus on, to become a better artist, to become a better designer. And as I reach my year in engraving. I know that it's something that I'll continue to focus on in the future. So let me know in the comments what you think also.